feelings about everything that happened. But I'll just kind of explain what I went through, the highs, the lows. But anyways, I'm going to start from the beginning. It was October of 2018, and I wasn't looking for anything serious. I went out on a couple dates. I met a couple people. Have some random stories about that. And then I remember coming across this profile on Tinder, and there's a few things. Like, I don't remember a lot of my life, but with this particular person, I remember some stuff like it was yesterday. And I remember going through her profile, and this is not a sad story in the sense of where I'm at now. I'm very happy, but I am going to cry a little bit because there was a lot of emotions involved in this, sadness, anger, happiness. But anyways, I remember her profile. One picture I remember in particular was her at Riot Fest, and I don't know, she was just really beautiful. And then another one, she was like wearing a jean jacket. I remember, and I don't know why I remember those things, but I do. So we make plans to hang out, and I don't we don't talk for a couple days, and then I think that morning I messaged her. I was like, hey, are you still free tonight? And she was just like, yeah. And I was like, okay. So I don't remember much about that day, but I do remember leading up to meeting her. Like I said, like it was yesterday. I get ready, and I tried on about 3 different outfits, and I wasn't nervous, just excited, meeting a new person. But I start driving, making my way down to where we're gonna meet, and I run into traffic. And I remember at that point I was just like, I might not go. This is just kind of becoming a headache. But I was like, no, just go ahead and go down there. So I head down there. I text her. I'm like, I'm gonna be a little bit late. There's traffic. She's like, okay. So I park at this church, and I give the guy the money, and he's like, you have to be gone in the morning. Churches. So it was a Saturday. It was October 13th. He was like, church is going to be on in the morning. Your car has to be gone. And I was like, that's fine. I'm not going to be here too long. So I walk over to this bar. It was like an arcade bar. And I remember walking down the steps and going to the bar. And at the end of the bar was the first time that I saw her. And something happened. I mean, I introduced myself and I made a stupid joke, but something happened to where I just, uh, I was like, man, that face. I don't think I'm gonna need to see that face for a long time. Like, I knew it in that moment, and I was lucky enough to see it for a long time. But anyways, so we were at that bar, and we tried butterbeer, which was not a good idea for either one of us. But then we decided, like, hey, we don't want this to end. Let's go ahead and head to your place. So we head over to her place, and I get to her place. She goes the wrong direction. So I'm waiting there for a while, and I really need to pee. And I go and I use, I go pee behind a dumpster. And then she finally shows up. So we go up and we start to watch YouTube. And I was so nervous. I don't know why. I'm usually a confident dude, but I was just nervous. And I was like, you know what? Make a move. So I ended up making a move. And yeah, I stayed the night. And there was a point, I remember this because I can still see it. She gets up and she uses like a back scratcher, and I don't know why I thought that was just so unique, but it's just one of the things I remember. So, anyways, the next morning I wake up and I'm like, oh no, I gotta go get my car. And she's like, you drove over here. And I was like, oh yeah, probably not a good idea. But I remember she was like using the restroom, and I kind of just like, hey, I have something to tell you. And she's like, what's up? And I was just like, I'm married. And she was just like, huh? And I was like, no, I'm just joking. I have a dad. And the reason I wanted to tell her at that moment is because I knew that I thought there would be something possible with this person. So I wanted to get it out of the way because I didn't really mention it because I was just looking to have fun. So I told her, she's like, okay. So, anyways, that day goes on, and I remember just like, I couldn't get her out of my head. And I was like, hey, do you want to hang out again? And she said yes. And I don't know, I just felt lucky. And I go to her house again. The first week she was moving, so I was there a couple times. And then one time I was leaving in the morning, and she asked me to come back because she needed to get dropped off to get her moving truck. So I did that. And then the first week she was at her house, I remember she went to a show, and I waited at her place for her with her permission. And I remember she came back. She had Taco Bell, and yeah, that was the start of everything. Yeah. It was a good start. But anyways, like the first couple months, you're getting to know somebody, and we were like filling each other out, and I was living in a place with somebody, and unfortunately I guess he wasn't paying his bills, so he got kicked out, and I come home and all of her stuff's in the driveway. And at that point I really wanted to spend time with my daughter. uh, so I made the decision that I was going to go stay with my ex at her parents' house. We'd stay in the basement. She had a bed. I slept on the couch, and then we had my daughter. But it wasn't anything more than that. But I know my person. She had some views about it, which is understandable. I didn't see her really during that whole time frame. I think it was like 2 or 3 weeks. But I did end up finding a place, and then things with my person ended up just starting again. And to say that first year, it wasn't easy. I was dealing with a lot of random things. Like I was just afraid of moving on. I had my daughter to worry about, so I didn't want to introduce her to anybody. I needed to really be sure. So like a lot of those insecure thoughts I was having, I focused on drinking, and that's going to be a recurring thing in this whole thing. But I've focused on drinking, and it wasn't a good mixture. We would get in fights. I mean, we were having fun, and it was very passionate. But whenever we would drink, we would fight. And I mean, I made some stupid remarks. Like one time I said I wanted to be in an open relationship, which I didn't. I just wanted this person. But for whatever reason in my head, I thought that would be a good thing to say at that time. But I didn't want that. So, anyways, that first year it was a little bit of that kind of like really immature kind of stuff. But we made it through it, and then we started hanging out more consistently after that. And I was going to her place a lot. She'd come down to my place. We were exploring new places, and then yeah, I think February of 2019. I don't know. I think I'm wrong. Okay, so we gotta edit this here. So yeah, we're hanging out, and then we get to the point where it was like the end of 2019. We were seeing each other. Like anytime I had a free moment, I would see her. It was either with my daughter, I was doing community service, or it was with her. And then we get to the beginning of 2020, and we had an experience. We were very open minded, but we had an experience one time that kind of changed everything for me and how I was feeling. And I don't know what triggered it, but anyways, we had this particular experience, and it was really fun, and it was I thought it was a good experience to have. But there was like something that happened during that time that made me feel a little bit insecure um, about what happened. But it wasn't a big deal. It wasn't anything to be like, well, I'm gonna leave. It was just more so like, okay, we just need to be a little bit more open about this stuff. But after that moment, man, backing up a little bit, uh, because I said there's a lot of moments I always remember. One of the moments I remember vividly in that first year was the first time she told me she loved me. And yeah, I just remember it because I loved her too. But, I was trying to figure out like a good time frame for me. But she told me she loved me, and she was just like, I'm a stupid girl. I'm a stupid girl, because I said like thanks or something like that. And I was like, no, you're not stupid. I thought it was so cute because she's just, I don't know. She was just really vulnerable, and I can hear her voice in my head when I think about it. But anyways, I remember that moment, and then I remember the first time I told her I loved her as well. We were laying in my bed, and I was like, "Hey, I love you," and she was just like, "What?" I was like, "I love you," and we loved each other. And so, anyways, but then in February of 2020, that's really when I kind of just let all my guard down, and I really invested in my feelings that I had towards her. And I mean, I probably got to the point where I was a little bit annoying, because I was just like constantly like telling her like, I'm so excited I met you. I'm glad you picked me. Um, it was just really great. Like my heart was so full at that time. I just felt like I needed. That's where I was supposed to be in that moment. So yeah, we made the decision for me to kind of move in, uh, and you know, it was just gonna be you have your job, I have my job, we're gonna move in. I think in that same February time frame, she met my daughter, which was a huge deal because I was, I didn't want to just introduce her to anybody, and I also wanted to make sure that this person was, you know, ready to take on this new version of her life, and she was, and she did great. And but anyways, the first day that she met my daughter, uh, I was like nervous, and my daughter was a little timid. And I remember walking through this department store. These are the things that I remember so vividly. I remember walking through this department store, and she was sitting by these escalators, and I was like, "Oh, there's Daddy's friend." And my daughter was a little bit timid, but then we start walking around this mall, and she slowly starts opening up, and we just kind of all have a good time, and then we go get pizza at this restaurant. And there was a moment that my my person just she grabbed some ice cream and brownie, and my daughter just whoop, swooped it up, and we laughed, and we are like, okay, this is gonna work. And then I had to go use the restroom, and they bonded really well. So that was the first time that they met, which was a big deal to me. And so after that, I move in, and COVID happened. So we went from seeing each other once, twice a week, to seeing each other every day, all day, every day, because we both had to work from home, and it wasn't bad for us. Like we got through it pretty well. We got COVID at one point. Like, and obviously you're gonna have like arguments because you're living with somebody and you have two personalities, but it wasn't too bad. We made it through it. But in October, her lease was coming up, so we were like, let's try to find somewhere a little bit bigger because my daughter, she started staying more, and we wanted to be a little bit closer and also have her own area. So we ended up moving into a little house, and we were still doing good. Just going through that young relationship kind of stuff. The fights weren't like necessarily too big. I can't really think of too many big fights. There was like a couple when it came to COVID and like my daughter's mom, but nothing too big. So we move into this house, and we're still going strong. It's us three, our little family. We're starting, and yeah, I think I was still working at this particular job that I didn't like, and I know for me, that's when some of my heavier drinking kind of started. And then, anyways, at this place, uh, our landlord tells us that he's selling the house, so we need to move because we signed a 2-year lease. But then we decided to move, and she picks out some really amazing places. But I was really all about saving money, so I was like, why don't we just find a place that we can live for a year, save up as much money as we can. And we ended up moving into the worst place I've ever lived. It was terrible. Um, and I feel bad because she didn't want to, but I did. So, anyways, we moved into this place for a year, and I think that's where like a lot of the cracks kind of started getting a little bit deeper. Uh, just because, yeah, the relationships, you have fights and you kind of work through them. But that's when like some of the fights were getting a little bit more serious, and then there was always a little bit of tension between my daughter's mom and us because I was letting her influence our relationship a little bit and like the stuff we did. And I could that was definitely a point of frustration for her. And I mean, looking back, it's just like you're an idiot. You should have put you first, but that's not what happened. So after that year, we move into another place. And we like it, and they have a pool and everything like that. It's like a nicer area, but that's really when things kind of got tough. The I didn't make it easy. The first real big fight we had, uh, unfortunately, I was doing really well on a particular stock, and I held it way too long, and they eventually took the buy button away from it. So it came crashing down, and I had a bunch of money saved up, but it was all gone like that. And unfortunately, that was our rent. Um, so I remember just beating myself up, and I was like, "You got to tell her. You guys are, we got to figure this out." So I told her, and she lost a lot of trust in me, which I did too, because why wouldn't you? And then like with my paychecks, I was just really kind of sketchy with them. But it was mostly just because you're a little bit prideful. You don't want to admit that you have like money problems. But when you're in love with somebody in your partnership, you kind of have to figure all that stuff out. So I think that was like I know that was a big pain point for us. So we went through this. We went through this back and forth for a while, and I think we started to kind of lose some of our spark at that time. And there was a point in that time where I was deciding that maybe I should move out for a little bit. Move out, kind of figure things out, and then maybe get back together and see if that helped. But that never happened. But I remember we went and go looking for places, and then she would help me go look for places, and then that kind of just passed, and we were still having fights. There was more tension between my daughter's mom and us, and it was getting kind of to be a lot. And I just wish I was a little bit more mature at that time to really fix the stuff in the moment. Like, it's easy to say now, like, I wish I would have done this, but it really was kind of just this easy fix. But and then something pretty big happens. She loses her job, and fortunately for me at that time, I was doing really well in the stock market, so we were okay, or at least I thought we were okay at that moment. I was like, we're gonna be fine, I'll pay all the bills. You'll find a job at some point. She was gonna do DoorDash. So, she handled all of the bills and everything like that. And this is another, I remember a lot of highs of the relationship, but then this is a low that I remember of the relationship, because I remember we went to Qdoba. I know where we ate that day because we came back and there was a sign on our door, and it was, we didn't pay our rent. And at that moment, I wasn't upset or anything like that. I was just like, you're dealing with a lot, and I know how it is to be stressed about these things and not want to reach out for help because you think you can do it on your own. But I told her, I was like, this is just like, it's not a good situation to be in, but it's the situation that we are in. So no use in blaming somebody. Let's just figure out what we're gonna do. So we ended up making the decision to move again, and I remember there were conversations we had at that point. And one I remember in particular, she told me, she was just like, I'm never going to let this happen for you and Delaney again. I'm going to fix all of this. I'm going to do better. And she thanked me for not leaving. And I was like, that never even crossed my mind. Like, we're in this together. Like, you're going to go through things. I'm going to go through things. We're in this together. And I remember her specifically saying this. She said, you're my ride or die. We're our ride or dies. And I thought that was great at that time. So anyways, we go through that issue. And then we're really looking forward to moving to a new place. We found a nicer place. And it's closer to my daughter and her school and everything like that. So it worked out, at least in that moment we thought it did. So we moved into our new place, and it was good for a minute, and then we just got back into the old things. One big thing that was happening throughout this whole time is my drinking. I was starting to drink a lot more heavy and a lot more consistent. And I always told her I was going to stop, and I really, really wanted to stop. But man, I always lost that battle, and like looking back now, it's like I was an alcoholic. But at that point, I didn't think I was. So whenever she would like make a comment about it, I thought she was personally attacking me, and I would get defensive. But we move into this new place, and things go good for a while, and but then it's the same stuff just came up because it was never addressed. Like the big one was my drinking. That just was one that that just kept popping up. And we go through the motions again. We're fighting again. These fights are getting a lot more intense, and they're getting a little bit more, consistent, and they're happening a little bit more often. So then we kind of make, for her birthday, I bought her some tickets to go out to one of the venues that we've always wanted to go to, or I've been there, but she's always wanted to go to, and it was one of her favorite bands. And I thought, let's go ahead and go out there and see what's going on. And we had a good time, but it was not the same. It was just like being out there with, your friend. And I mean, she was my best friend, and she's still very, very important to me. But yeah, so then we get back from that trip, and I say I'm not going to drink, and then of course I drink again, and then something's mentioned, and I get really defensive, and we've had conversations later where she said that was kind of the moment that she knew. So then I go and I see my family with my daughter, and when I get back, I remember saying, we need to talk. God, I hate this part. Because not that it had to happen the way it did, but it's just like, why did I want to have that conversation? But we had the conversation. I was like, are you happy? No. Am I happy? No. What are we going to do, And we kind of were telling each other, at least I was, like I said, this is all my point of view. That's like, okay, let's move out. Let's work on ourselves. We'll start dating again. We don't even need to be together. Let's just start dating. Let's get to know these new people. Like everything that happened in the past was a past relationship. We'll have a new relationship. And that was a little bit a part of my plan that I wanted. But there was also a part of me that's just like, I haven't been single in a long time. I'm going to enjoy this. I'm going to make friends, see what's out there. So, after we had that talk, though, we got along with each other. And it was sad, like, thinking about it. It was just a very sad situation with, I take a lot of accountability for what I did, but there's like two people in a relationship, and it comes to an end because two people decide for it to. But it was very, very sad. And I remember one of the last days she was here, she made a joke about something. And I was just like, all right, well then don't move out. But whatever. So she moves out. And that first week we kind of just, we talked because I'm helping her move in. And, she did what she had to do. She ended up telling me later that she knew that was it. And I had a little bit of a thing where it was like, okay, we can take a break and then start dating. But it wasn't like something that I was really focused on, And then, so anyway, she moves on, she moves out, and my daughter, the plan was for us to keep them in each other's lives for a while, just because she was such an important part. She helped me raise her. But then it kind of came out that my daughter's mom was telling me that my daughter was having a really tough time with everything, like really bad. She would cry for hours, and she said that she was never going to see her again. And so then my daughter's mom didn't think at that point it would have been really healthy for her and Heather to God damn it, for her and my person to see each other, because just of everything that she went through. So that was back in like November, and at the time, my person told me, she was like, I need my space. You need to let me have my space. You can't keep texting me. Which is funny because most of the time when she would say I need my space, I would give her space, and then the text message I would get would be from her, but that doesn't matter. There were a couple times I reached out. But anyways, the end of November, she's really like, I need my space. You can't reach out to me. We'll talk in January to take care of our phone bill because we were on the same phone plan. So I was like, that's fine. So, I kind of go back and I live my life. Like, the first week she was gone, it was okay. The second week she was gone, it was bad. I spiraled, and I drank and I drank and I drank to the point where I was missing work. And I was really, really just upset about everything because I was starting to come home and I was starting to see her everywhere. And it was a real low part for me. And I talked to my HR and they ended up recommending therapy, and I was like, yeah, that's fine. But the first thing I did was go to a bar. But anyways, then we go into November and we kind of talk, and then in December we don't talk at all until the end of December. I finally sent a text just like, hey. And during that December was fine. I was seeing a couple different people. I was going on dates. I met this one that I really ended up liking, and yeah. So at the end of December, I remember reaching out and just saying, "I hope you had a good holiday." She's like, "I did too. You too." And we kind of chatted on and off for like January, and then the stuff with me and this girl I was talking to kind of just took a downturn. Like a direction, just because of some like miscommunication. But yeah, I remember I went to her house to drop off something maybe, and then we're sitting there and I was like, have you dated anybody, or have you like met anybody? And she said yes, and I was like, oh, me too. And at that point we kind of were both relieved, because I remember when I was going through my stuff or meet new people, I felt a little guilty. I don't know why, but I did, because I don't know. But I worked through it, and so like we talked, and we're like, all right, let's go have dinner, and then we kind of talk, and then she's like, well, I have to be honest about something. Um, I'm I'm kind of seeing somebody, and at that point I was just like, okay, that's fine, that sounds nice, because I was going through this stuff with the person I was seeing. And she was just like, yeah, she vented a little bit about what was going on with them. And then the next day, I remember getting a text from the girl that I was seeing that was just like, it really just ended things. And I was just like, I texted her and I was like, hey, I got a text back, and I sent it. And then we talked for a little bit. And then for whatever reason, I really attached myself to this person, to my ex. And I think it was this thought in my head that I was like, I tried dating and nobody was you. And that's what I put in my head. But the person I knew, 4 months later, wasn't the same person that I was envisioning. So I really did kind of focus, and I was like, I need to get you back. And we had one particular phone call where I asked, like, are we ever going to get back together? And she told me no. And which is weird, because I never asked myself that the whole time that we weren't together. So I kind of got real defensive and said some mean things. And then like immediately following that, I remember I was at my desk and I was like, that was stupid. Like, you don't feel that way. Why did you mention that? I think I just needed to hear somebody say they wanted me. So I ended up saying, I'm sorry, I didn't mean any of that. And then it's funny, because that night I go out and I meet somebody new that we just ended up being friends. But then since February, it was just another cycle to get through, because I really do care about this person a lot, and I'm so happy that she's happy and she's moved on. But you just kind of get this vision of your future in your head, and what you think it's going to look like, and when you have to finally admit that that's not what it is, and you have to start planning for a different future, it was just really hard. So, and like we talk throughout the week and stuff like that, and it's always nice. She's just a great person, but it takes me to where I'm at today, which is in a good spot. I'm not seeing anybody, but I do have a friend that I've been hanging out with a little bit more consistently. And like I said, I'm not looking for anything, because I really want to focus on myself. But yeah, that's kind of the story of us and where I'm at today. And eventually I'll get into some of the things that helped me cope through some of my lower points of the relationship. And you know what? I might post a little bit more frequently, because it's kind of nice to talk. But anyways, I will let y'all go, and I hope you have a good day. And honestly, this is a long video, and I don't expect one single person to watch it. So we'll be good there. But yeah, I hope you have a great day, and I look forward to talking to you a little bit more. Thank you.